Hey everybody, welcome back to the COVID Cocktail Club. Today we are going to make for happy hour one of the best classics that there is. This is one of my favorites and I'm really excited to make it today. Lord knows after trying to fight the Hub and all of HISD's various platforms for online school, I really need it. So I'm really excited. It's super easy to make. This is a 3-ingredient drink, okay? So we are gonna make Manhattans. Very excited. We're just going to use bourbon or rye. I think Jason may be using rye. You can use either one. And actually, if you go to a bar and ask for Manhattan, you probably should specify which one you want because they make it with either one. So bourbon or rye. Sweet vermouth. Now, the interesting things about sweet vermouth, there's actually a lot of things about sweet vermouth. Sweet vermouth is red vermouth, not white vermouth. So that's an easy way to tell when you're trying to buy it, whether it's white or red. The other thing about vermouth is once you open it, it has to be refrigerated. This is basically a fortified wine and it will go bad. So once you've opened it, keep it, store it in your refrigerator. And even then, it's still only good for 3-4 months.
Less than that, actually. Well, depends. We've certainly stretched it more than it should. It's really supposed to be good for about a month. But you can typically stretch it. The point is, if it's in the fridge, you can usually get, I'd say double the lifespan out of it.
Oh, I said months. I meant weeks. No, I didn't. I'd say 2 months.
Yeah, in the fridge, a couple months at most.
So speaking to that, actually, these are 2 really fantastic bottles that I found that they're both very good vermouths, but on top of that, they come in ricey-sized bottles. So you don't have to waste quite as much because they're really, they're tiny little bottles. One is Coqui Vermouth de Torino, and the other one is Carpano Antico Formula. This guy, they're both really, really good, and I would recommend either one of them. Not expensive, and you'll go through it faster if it's smaller anyway.
Hey, Ricey?
Yeah.
I want to add a quick little point. I started doing this just recently, and as you take the bottle, it's kind of like an air filter where you mark, when it's time to change it. And I now label the back of mine the date, so you have a general idea how long it's good for.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so bourbon, sweet vermouth, and then bitters. I'm just going to use the Angostura bitters, but once again, you can get fancy with those if you want to. So, one really quick fun fact about the Manhattan before we get started making it is a very easy way to remember how to make a Manhattan is the area code for Manhattan. If you've ever lived there like me, it's 212, and that's a great way to remember. It's 2 ounces of your whiskey, 1 ounce of your vermouth, and 2 dashes of bitters. 2, 1, 2. Just a little trick. Without further ado, do you want to make it, Jason?
Actually, before we do that, I want to do a slight riff on one.
Okay.
As you know, we like to do different versions of the same drink or a similar drink. So it's still a Manhattan at its core, but it's called a black Manhattan. And it takes the name from its color because there's one key substitution. So we remove the vermouth from the recipe and we add in a Verna, which is an Amaro. And there's actually multiple Amari, so plural for Amaro. And actually, I'm going to back up. Amaro is Italian for bitter. So there's a whole slew of probably hundreds of Amari out there. They're essentially, for the most part, Italian bitter liqueurs. There are some domestic distillers that are now sampling them. In fact, we just bought one last year in Charleston, South Carolina. You can get, there's a company out of Austin that's making them. But generally speaking, most Amari are from Italy for obvious reasons. But the fun thing about Amari, and we'll get into this probably in the coming weeks, but there's all kinds of base ingredients that are really unique. So like I've got one that's, the base ingredient is arugula. I've got a rhubarb one. Chinar is probably the most common one out there of the unique profiles, and it's actually made from artichoke. And then this one is actually nothing really unique about it, but it's a really, I'd say it's a good starter Amaro. It's a little bit lighter, less bitter, more citrus forward. It's called Amaro Nonino. Only thing negative about this one, it's around $50 a bottle, where most of the Amari bottles are between like 17 and 25. Bryce, do you have anything you want to speak to?
Well, I'll just say that I think that if you've got any Amaro laying around, I've got a bunch of other options here. I've got a Ramazzotti, I've got the Chinar, also a Maletti. If you've got any of these laying around, these are just really fun ways to play when you get bored. Again, all you need to do, as long as you keep your ratio the same, your 2, 1, 2, then you're really set. So you can even combine a couple of these. My very, very favorite riff that I have nicknamed a chit chat is 2 ounces of bourbon, and then half an ounce of the nonino for a little bit of sweet, half an ounce of the chinar, which is pretty bitter, and then 2 dashes of mole bitters. So again, at its core, it's still a Manhattan. It's just the way that I've decided I like it the best. So play around with this, make it your own, figure out what you like the best. There's really no right answer. But right. for today's purposes, I will be making a very classic Manhattan. The other thing that I'll warn you about Manhattan when you order it out is they're gonna ask you if you want it up or on the rocks. Again, there's really no right answer. I like mine up, so I'm going to make mine up. But some places I think will add syrup to it. I'm not sure why, but I feel like I've had some really bad Manhattans out. So be careful. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and start. Everyone's gonna start with their 2 ounces of brown. Whether you're using bourbon or rye, go ahead and start with 2 ounces of that. And I'm gonna use it in a mixing glass because since there is no citrus in this drink, we're not gonna shake it. We're just gonna stir it. Okay, so after my 2 ounces of that, I'm gonna do 1 ounce of, and this is the Koki.
In my case, the Black Manhattan, I used a Verna. I also cheated just for time's sake, and I already put ice in there. The way Rice is doing is actually the correct way, is to put the ingredients in first and then the ice. Okay.
Just for dilution.
Yeah.
2 dashes of my bitters.
And for the Black Manhattan, it's 1 dash of Angostura and 1 dash of orange bitters. Okay.
Okay, then I'm gonna go ahead and add my ice. I'm gonna add the biggest ice that I can find so that I don't dilute it too much. Do a quick stir just to incorporate all the ingredients together. And if you don't have this mixing glass, you can always do it in the bottom of a shaker tin. I won't tell, I promise. I'm going to strain it out into my Nicanora glass. I'm not sure why, but this is my favorite of all the glasses.
Yeah.
Okay, very important on a Manhattan is our garnish. Once again, we're going to use our Luxardo cherry, not our bright red maraschino cherry. I will come after you. There's no rule about how many of these to do. I think they're freaking delicious and I earned it, so I'm gonna go crazy today.
Hey, Rice, before you put the bar tweezers away, you may want to show everybody the bar tweezers. Guys, this is the greatest $8 you'll ever spend on Amazon. They're great for olives if you're doing martinis, obviously cherries for Manhattans. These cherries actually are hard to pluck out otherwise. So it's kind of a cool look to have in your bar when you're making a proper cocktail. So $8 or $9 on Amazon.
Yeah, you can also use them when you're messing with fresh herbs or whatever,
yeah.
or you know, anything. They just look pretty fancy.
Well, these look delicious. Before we drink, homework for tomorrow, guys. Tomorrow's another classic, really good for if you're outside in this heat. It's a gin and tonic, but this is not your gin and tonic you drank in college when you were drinking Schweppes or Canada Dry and Tanqueray. We're going to do a nicer version. It really is one of the keys. Yes, gin's important, obviously, but the tonic water that you choose is really important. So hopefully some of you guys got Fever Tree. It was on your shopping list last week. If not, we're going to play with whatever you have. We're also going to raid the garden and the kitchen tomorrow to bring in some of those ingredients to the bar. So,
fun.
All right, enjoy. Cheers, Rice.
Cheers, Jason.